Assassin's Creed has always been about history. From the first game's medieval crusade setting to the Victorian London of Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Ubisoft's long-running stealth and stabbing series has allowed players to visit and explore key times in human history. Assassin's Creed Origins is doubling down on this with the introduction of Discovery Mode, a combat-free, no-time-limit exploration mode of ancient Egypt that will offer dozens of guided tours to help players better understand ancient Egypt. But that's still months off. So I'm here to give you a crash course in ancient Egypt with the help of Assassin's Creed's franchise historian, Max Durand. Oh, and I guess some of this could be considered spoilers, but remember, Assassin's Creed Origins is the story of Bayek, and there's no specific details of that part of the narrative.
What is specific to the time period of Cleopatra or ascension to the throne is that it's very rich geopolitically. You have both landmarks from ancient Egypt, the pyramids, the villages, the city of Memphis, the first capital. So very, very old stuff, old culture that's being brought within these villages. And then at the same time, you have a Greek Macedonian pharaoh. So Cleopatra, her brother and husband, Ptolemaic XIII. It's very rich, it's very complex. For us, it creates an opportunity to tell a story about assassins and Templars.
Assassin's Creed Origins is set during the reign of Ptolemy XIII, around 49 to 47 BC. Most significantly, the story of Bayek takes place in front of the backdrop of Cleopatra's rise to the throne. The Ptolemaic kingdom lasted in ancient Egypt from 305 BC to 30 BC, and kicked off with the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BC and the ascension of Ptolemy I to the role of pharaoh.
What was very important for us from the bat was that Bayek needed to be centered around his country. He had to have this vision of the country that was legitimate. So we knew that we wanted to invest a lot into the quest system, being able to talk with anybody in the country to help people. And so in that process, we look into all the different possibilities of the kind of role that he could have at that moment. Medjay are very old at the moment of Bayek. They are at first a nomadic tribe from the south of Egypt that were mercenaries for the pharaoh. And then they moved up north with the centuries. They intermarried and their nationality got lost, but the title of Medjay stayed in ancient Egypt and become associated as protectors of the people, as protectors of the pharaoh.
The Ptolemies adopted many Egyptian cultural staples in order to cement their place with the native populace. An Egyptian custom adopted by the Ptolemies was the wedding of siblings. In 51 BC, Cleopatra VII rose to power at the age of 18 after the death of her father Ptolemy XII, alongside her husband and brother, 10-year-old Ptolemy XIII.
He's a very young youth. He's probably 14 at the time of the beginning of the game, and so he's very manipulable. Cleopatra tries to set him off aside. She stops writing his name on the articles, on the stelas, of the royal stelas, so she tries to keep the power for herself. And that doesn't work very well. She gets mobbed by people in Alexandria. She gets exiled by Ptolemy's advisors, counselors like Pothinus.
As Ptolemy was underage when the siblings took power, Pothinus was appointed as his regent. Pothinus used his influence over the younger sibling to sow contempt and turn Ptolemy XIII against his sister. In 48 BC, the two enacted a plan to depose Cleopatra and install Ptolemy as a ruler, with Pothinus working behind the scenes. The civil war that resulted forced Cleopatra into exile, as Ptolemy XIII became sole ruler of Egypt. Speaking of civil war, something similar was going on at the time over in ancient Greece. A civil war had been raging between Julius Caesar and his supporters and the conservative Ptolemaics, who were supported by Pompey and his legions. Several battles raged, with each general experiencing bitter defeat and hard-fought victories. But after the Battle of Phasaelis, where Caesar secured a decisive victory, Pompey fled to Egypt, where he begged the new pharaoh for asylum. Seeing an opportunity to curry favour with the up-and-coming Julius Caesar, Ptolemy and Pothinus accepted Pompey into their kingdom. The welcome was a ploy, however, as Pompey was murdered and beheaded as his wife and children watched. Pothinus' plan was to present Pompey's head to Caesar and reap the rewards the new kingdom was sure to receive for dealing with this enemy. What they didn't know was that Caesar had been merciful to his enemies, and when he arrived in Alexandria, he was disgusted by the presentation of Pompey's head. He ordered Pompey's body be returned to Greece so he could be given a proper Roman funeral. He seized the Egyptian capital and installed himself as arbiter between the rival siblings. Seeing her chance, Cleopatra had herself smuggled into the palace in a rolled-up carpet to speak with Caesar. The two quickly became lovers, and she gave birth to their son, Ptolemy Caesar, in 47 BC. Caesar, no longer wishing to play both sides, through his support completely behind his mistress. Unfortunately, Caesar was besieged in the Egyptian capital of Alexandria and was finally freed when his request for assistance was answered by Mithridates and his army. Caesar then led his army against Ptolemy at the Battle of the Nile, where he was ultimately triumphant. At the age of 15, Ptolemy XIII allegedly drowned in the Nile after his retreating ship capsized. Cleopatra was again appointed to the throne until her death in 30 BC, after which Egypt became part of the Roman Empire. So that's the cliff notes of one of the most interesting and politically charged times in ancient Egyptian history. If you're interested in more Assassin's Creed Origins, be sure to check out our review and the wealth of guides, articles, and gameplay videos we're all producing for you here at GameSpot. As always, do let me know your thoughts on this video. You can find me on Twitter at @ItStanCrowd, or just leave me a comment below. Thanks for watching.